Alright everyone, it's been a week since Oblivion Remastered has been out. I think that's long enough to enjoy the game naturally. Now, let's get into some mechanics that can really break this game wide open. Starting, of course, with spellcrafting. We're going to break down how to spellcraft, as well as several amazing spells you can utilize, and some that are pretty fun. Don't forget, we also have that unlimited Magicka spell and enchant combo that we're going to cover very shortly, so stick around. Some of you new to Oblivion Remastered may ask yourself, what even is spellcrafting? Well, as the name implies, it allows you to create your own custom spells by mixing magical effects that you've learned through your adventures. You can build spells tailored to your playstyle, whether that's nuking enemies, fortifying a whole bunch of skills, or making some weird meme builds out of it. It's one of the most powerful systems in the game once you know how to use it, and we're going to break it all down right now. Now, you may ask yourself, where do you even craft spells? I haven't seen anything for this so far. Well, your main area is going to be Arcane University. Now, if you haven't done the Mages Guild quest, you're going to have to go around to every single town to their Mages Guild and do their recommendation quest. There's a video where I went through and did all these recommendations on livestream, so if you haven't done it before and you want to walk through, you can go along with that and follow along. Now, if once you get access to the Arcane University, you're going to want to go into the Praxographical Center. Now, that's a big long word for spellcrafting. Additionally, before anyone flames me in the comments, you'll also be able to go up in this area right near County Bruma. That's where Frostcrag Spire will be. If you can upgrade that and get yourself some Mage Tallow candles, you'll be able to spellcraft and enchant from that area if you're a type of player who has no interest in the Mages Guild. Now, whether you use the Praxographical Center at the Arcane University or the Altar of Spellmaking and Frostcrag Spire, you'll want to find this place here and hit E to activate it. This will open up our spell creation screen. So what you'll first want to do is pick your added effects. Now we're just going to make a quick sample one right now, which I'm going to start with Weakness to Fire. Now you'll see that there's a number of options here. We've got to choose the range. Now you've got either touch spells, target spells, or self spells. With Weakness to Fire, you may not want to cast self on this one. We're going to actually do a target spell on this one. Now the magnitude is how strong you want it to be. So right now this would only be 3%. Let's kick that bad boy up to 100%. Now the area, because this is a target spell, you can have an area effect be done to it. Certain spells such as Self will not let you do that because you're casting it on yourself. Now we'll leave the area blank for now because we just want it, whatever the target hits, that's what we want to hit. But if you wanted a radius effect, which we'll get to some broken spells that utilize that soon, don't you worry, you can utilize this to turn this up and have a foot wide area of effect. Now the next step, duration, that's pretty self-explanatory. How long do you want it to occur for? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set this for 2 seconds. So I want this to be 100% weak to fire for 2 seconds, and I'm going to hit confirm. Now I didn't enter a name yet, and I'm actually not going to create yet because you can combine spell effects to really maximize what you do. So for example here, I'm going to take Weakness to Magic, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make this a 2-second duration for target, for 100%. So now we've got that. Now you may be asking, or you may already know what's coming next. We're going to go down to our Fs, and we're going to find fire damage, and we're going to make this target as well, and we're going to do 100 points of fire damage, and we're going to do that for 3 seconds. Now, as you can see here, we've got Weakness to Fire on target for 100% for 2 seconds. We've got Weakness to Magic on target for 100% for 2 seconds. And we've got fire damage on target for 3 seconds. We could actually cut this down to 2 if we would like to. That will also reduce our cost here. As you can see, don't mind the out of 12. We don't need to necessarily worry about that. This little candle icon is mostly for enchanting. This is going to be how many charges that you have out of it. And then this last area here in the bottom right is going to be how much gold it's going to cost you to actually make this spell. So we're going to say this is Fire Weakness Spell. I'm not very creative with my spell names, but now we've created a new spell. So now we're going to go into our magic, we're going to scroll down and we're going to find it. We're looking for Fire Weakness spell right here. As you can see, when I hover over it, it's going to use a little bit more than third. With movie magic, we're now in Bruma, but if you cast it on someone, as you can see, that's a very easy spell, because the weakness to fire and the weakness to magic, combined with the fire damage, means you're doing exponentially more damage with that spell, which already does 100 damage.
Help! Help!
As you can see, it makes it pretty simple. Now, some things to keep in mind. For starters, the 2-second duration might have been overkill on that spell. We probably could have done 1 second. But the more magnitude, the longer duration, and the bigger area all do increase your Magicka cost exponentially. Combining effects, such as the weakness to magic, weakness to fire, and fire damage, also adds all their individual costs together. So unless you're really talented in the schools of magic, you may find yourself struggling with having the mana cost for this. My recommendation would be to get a bunch of plus 50 Magicka sigil stones, stack those on all your armor, and you'll have hundreds of Magicka to use for free. If you want any tips on sigil stones and how to work that, look on my channel for a video specifically focused on sigil stones themselves. Some other pro tips for powerful spellcrafting would be to stay within your magic school limits. You want to make sure your skills match the school of magic you're building for. There'll be a cheat sheet of all the schools of magic on the video for you to use, so you can see what type of spells fall under which school. Make efficient spell designs. Short durations with high magnitudes often cost less than the long, slow burn ones. Self-cast buffs are really cheap. Self-range spells are drastically cheaper than target or touch versions. Area spells do cost quite a bit more. You only want to use area spells if you're clearing groups. 1v1 fights, usually you're not going to need that area of effect, so save your Magicka, even though it does look a little bit cooler when you see the whole area explode. And pay attention to spell absorption mechanics. If you have spell absorption, some self-targeted spells can actually restore your Magicka if they absorb. Now keep in mind, I haven't fully tested this in Oblivion Remastered. This may have been fixed, but it may not have. So hopefully at this point I'll be able to throw a nice little caption on the screen to let you know that for sure. Now we're going to get into some examples of extremely powerful spells and some fun ones. So without further ado, we're going to start off with our first one, the one-shot nuke. In those 2 seconds, I decided to rename the spell to Electric Burn, as I figured that fit a little bit better. Taking a look at your added effects here, you've got 100 points of fire damage on target for 1 second, and 100 points of shock damage on target. This is probably enough to one-shot pretty much any enemy, as long as you can afford the Magicka. So, we're going to make this spell, only costs about 500 gold, which, when you get to the point where you're really making these spells, it shouldn't be too much for you at all. Alright, let's see how this does. As you can see, quite effective.
Someone's been murdered!
This next one, I used to call a force field spell. Now this one, you're going to fortify your health on self for 60 seconds for 100 points. That's going to really give a boost to your HP, as well as an 85% shield on self for 60 seconds. Now, if you stack this with armor, you're pretty much invincible for 60 seconds, and it costs about 219 mana and will be about 650 gold for you to make here. Now we'll try out Force Field. See how it works.
Go ahead. Then pen 9 divines! Listen here! Assault! You're pathetic! Show me what you've got!
As you can see, pretty hard, and I'm not even really wearing any armor either, so I'm pretty unkillable here with this spell. They can have all the fun they want. Up next, we have the Paralyzer. The effects on this one is you're going to do an area of effect, which is a paralyze on target for 15 feet for 5 seconds, as well as a weakness to fire on target 100% for 15 feet for 5 seconds. So what this spell is going to do is it's going to knock down a whole group of people or enemies or anything like that and make them super weak to fire, which you can follow up with a nice fireball effect spell, which will do huge damage to all the enemies in the group. This is a great one to use, and it's a relatively lower cost than some of the other spells we've made, and the money cost isn't too bad at only 516 gold. As you can see, they can't do anything but stand there. He's kind of a little messed up.
Can't you settle this peacefully? Assault! Assault!
This next spell I make is one I always cast whenever I do business at a shop. Now what this will do is this will charm a target 100 points on touch for 1 second, while also fortifying your mercantile 100 points on self. So what you'll do is you're going to cast this spell right on that shopkeeper and then immediately open that menu, start doing business. Because time freezes, you're going to be able to maximize what you sell, how much you make off of it, and how you can haggle as well. Very, very effective spell to maximize how much money you can make. This next one is a must-have. This is the Unbreakable Hammer spell. Now what this one does, it only costs 4 mana and 12 gold to make, but you fortify armor 100 points on self. This follows the same concept as our haggling spell, where you're going to cast it, immediately open that menu, and start using your repair hammer. Because you're going to fortify 100 points of armor, your repair hammer is pretty much going to become unbreakable, and you're not going to need to carry around 20 or 30 of these anymore. This next one's going to follow the same paradigm as the previous two. You're going to notice this one's only going to cost 12 gold, and it's a very, very low cost for the mana usage. And this is called Easy Locks. So what this does, you're going to fortify security 100 points on yourself, and then immediately you're going to enter that lockpicking minigame. What that's going to do, freeze time, baby. That means you're going to have 100 points in security for the entire duration of that lock. And say for whatever reason you don't quite get it, it's a super, super cheap mana cost, so you're not even going to have to worry about it. Just recast it again and try again. Now this one's just one of my fun ones. I call this one the Flying Steed. So what you're going to have here is you're going to actually have 100 points of Fortify Speed on touch for 20 seconds, and you're going to have 100 feet of light on touch for 20 seconds. Now, you're going to cast this on your little horsey there, and it's going to be a real fun effect. We're going to watch it live right now. This one's another fun one I really like doing. I like to call this one a Buh Bye. Now what this one does is you're going to use this on an NPC, and it's going to fortify the speed 100 points for 10 seconds on target, and it demoralizes up to level 25 for 10 seconds on target. This should essentially work on any enemy or NPC you encounter. Essentially, you cast it on them and they yeet right away. It's pretty funny to watch. Let's check it out.
How can I help?
Now for what most of you are probably waiting for. The spell that you need to use to start the unlimited Magicka cast. Now, you need these effects in this exact order, so do not deviate from this list. The only thing you can deviate on is the amount of Magicka that you drain and the time duration. Now, for the time duration, I like to go with like multiples of 4. I don't know, maybe I'm just OCD or weird like that. But this one here isn't too expensive on anything, so it might take a little while, but you could always try to make more duration, try to make more impact for it, to try to bring that Magicka up faster. But this should be a spell that a lot of people should be able to cast without it being too crazy. But if it's too much or out of league for you at that current point in your leveling, just lower down that probably the amount of drain magicka or that duration maybe to like 4 seconds or something. It becomes much cheaper at 4 seconds. So this is the step 1. You're going to need to make this spell, and then you're going to need to make an enchantment as well, which we'll go over and do right now. Next, at the enchanting table, you can take like a ring or an amulet. I wouldn't recommend using a piece of armor or a weapon for this. I would use an actual like ring or amulet or something like that. You need to use a grand soul gem. So whether or not you use a grand soul gem, or in my case, I'm using a black soul gem because I've been testing out spells, so it was a lot easier for me that way. And you want to use your drain magicka on self. Now 5 points, constant effect. That's perfectly fine. You don't need much. That's all you really need to do. And we're going to hit enchant right here. Oh, got to make a name for it. Let's name it Subscribe to Rabina. And we're going to enchant that. Perfect. Now that we've got our unlimited magicka cast spell out, we're just going to start casting. Now, the more you do this, the higher your magicka is going to go. So, if you want, you can kind of just put a rubber band, make a little weight on your key, and just kind of keep casting, you know? Go eat dinner. Go do something else. We're just going to sit here for a couple minutes, and I'll be right back. Alright, it's been a few minutes, and I think we're pretty happy with our magicka. It looks like we've barely got nothing, but we actually had the same amount that we had when I first left you just 1 second ago. That's how crazy this spell can get. Now, our next step is we're going to do this one last cast, and we're going to wait for these effects and the duration to run out. Now, once this happens, your magicka is going to drop to a negative value. So now we've got no magicka. Uh-oh, what are we going to do? Well, now we're going to take that item that we just enchanted a little while ago, Subscribe to Rabina, and we're going to put this bad boy on. Now, the funny thing about negatives and positives is this actually isn't going to drain our magicka. This is going to give our magicka. Now we have positive magicka. So now, as you see, we're regenning it. I am just going to wait until 2 for 1 hour. Now we've got full magicka. Let's check it out. As you can see, we now have 3,923 magicka for casting spells. Needless to say, we're not going to be running out of magic anytime soon. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this guide useful, please consider subscribing to my channel for more Oblivion tips, guides, content, and a whole lot more. Thank you so much. May Akatash guide your way.